What if I told you that self-made millionaires have habits they deliberately keep hidden? What if the real secrets to building wealth have nothing to do with the advice millionaires share publicly? After gaining private access to self-made millionaires through consulting relationships and confidential interviews, I discovered 9 specific habits that create wealth but are never discussed publicly because they either provide too much competitive advantage to share or contradict the inspiring narratives millionaires want to maintain. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When millionaires talk publicly about how they built wealth, they share sanitized, socially acceptable stories about hard work, persistence, and helping others. Those things matter, but they're not the full story. The habits that actually created their wealth are different, often controversial, and deliberately kept private. Think about self-made millionaires you've heard speak. They talk about passion, following dreams, and adding value. But when you observe their actual behavior, when you gain private access to their real daily practices, you discover completely different habits that they'd never admit publicly. These hidden habits work extraordinarily well, which is exactly why they remain secret. I gained access to these 9 habits through years of private consulting work with millionaires who trusted me enough to reveal what they actually do versus what they say publicly. What I discovered was eye-opening and sometimes uncomfortable. These habits are pragmatic, often ruthless, and extraordinarily effective at creating wealth. When I started implementing these 9 hidden habits, my wealth trajectory changed dramatically. Within 1 year, my net worth increased more than the previous 5 years combined. Within 3 years, I had built wealth that seemed impossible using conventional advice. These habits work because they're based on reality rather than inspiring narratives. The beautiful thing about these 9 habits is they're completely learnable. You don't need special connections, elite education, or starting capital. You need the willingness to practice habits that are effective but not discussed, that create wealth but wouldn't sound good in motivational speeches. But here's what you need to understand. These habits may challenge your beliefs about wealth creation. They're not the feel-good advice popular on social media. They're the real, unfiltered practices that create millionaires but remain hidden because admitting them publicly would be reputation-damaging or competitively foolish. Some of these habits involve how millionaires really think about money and relationships. Others involve their actual approach to time, opportunities, and risk. Some are about strategic positioning, while others focus on psychological advantages. Together, they form the hidden operating system that creates wealth. If you're ready for the truth about how millionaires actually build wealth, if you can handle practices that work but aren't politically correct, subscribe right now, because these 9 hidden habits separate millionaires from everyone else. Habit 1. The calculated selfishness. The first hidden habit is what I call calculated selfishness. Self-made millionaires are extraordinarily focused on their own wealth building, often at the expense of other priorities. While publicly they talk about balance and helping others, privately they're ruthlessly prioritizing wealth accumulation. This isn't about being cruel. It's about recognizing that building significant wealth requires concentrated focus on your own financial interests. They say no to charity until wealthy. They choose career over family time during wealth-building years. They prioritize networking that serves their interests. Most people feel guilty about this level of self-focus. Millionaires accept it as necessary. They understand you can't help anyone significantly until you've built your own wealth first. They're comfortable being selfish during accumulation phase because they know it's temporary and enables greater generosity later. Thomas, a self-made millionaire, told me privately, "I ignored my kids' soccer games, said no to friends, and focused exclusively on building wealth for 10 years. Publicly, I'd never admit that, but it's what actually worked. Now I'm financially free and can be present." Habit 2. The asymmetric risk obsession. The second hidden habit is obsessively seeking asymmetric risk opportunities where potential upside dramatically exceeds potential downside. Millionaires don't take balanced risks. They seek situations where they can lose little but gain enormously. This might mean starting businesses with minimal capital investment, negotiating contracts with upside participation, or positioning in emerging markets early. They're not reckless gamblers. They're strategic about finding situations with limited downside and unlimited upside. While publicly they might discuss calculated risks or hard work, Privately, they're constantly scanning for asymmetric opportunities where the risk-reward ratio is massively in their favor. They pass on most opportunities, waiting for the rare asymmetric ones. Habit 3. The relationship leverage. The third hidden habit is explicitly using relationships for financial advantage. While publicly discussing genuine connections and helping others, privately millionaires are remarkably calculating about which relationships advance their wealth and which don't. They maintain relationships with people who can help their wealth building. Investors, successful entrepreneurs, decision-makers. They strategically distance from relationships that don't serve their financial goals regardless of history or obligation. Every relationship is evaluated through the lens of, does this advance my wealth? This sounds cold, and they'd never phrase it this way publicly, but it's why millionaires have networks of valuable connections, while others maintain draining relationships out of obligation. They've consciously chosen wealth over sentiment in relationship decisions. Habit 4. The information arbitrage. The fourth hidden habit is paying significant money for information advantages that others don't have. Millionaires spend tens of thousands annually on exclusive research, private conferences, and intelligence that gives them an edge. They understand that the right information before others have it creates wealth. They'll pay $50,000 for a conference if it provides insights that generate $500,000 in better decisions. They view information as an investment that provides returns through better positioning and timing. Habit 5. The strategic authenticity. The fifth hidden habit is being strategically authentic, presenting different versions of their genuine self depending on what serves their wealth-building goals in each context. They're not being fake. They're selectively emphasizing different real aspects of themselves. With investors, they emphasize their business acumen. With employees, they emphasize vision and leadership. With media, they emphasize relatability and inspiration. They're genuinely multifaceted people who strategically deploy which facets to show when. This calculated presentation creates maximum advantage in each situation while maintaining technical authenticity. They'd never publicly describe this process because it would seem manipulative, but it's how they navigate different contexts optimally. Habit 6. The aggressive collection. The sixth hidden habit is aggressively collecting what they're owed without guilt. Millionaires don't hesitate to pursue money owed to them, enforce contracts strictly, or litigate when necessary. They view this as protecting their wealth, not being difficult. While they might publicly discuss win-win relationships and collaboration, privately they're aggressive about collecting every dollar owed. They don't let people take advantage of them financially, they don't write off debts to be nice, they pursue what's contractually theirs. This aggressive collection mentality ensures wealth flows to them rather than away from them. They understand that being nice about money means staying poor while others profit from your generosity. Habit 7. The tax obsession. The seventh hidden habit is obsessive focus on legal tax minimization. Millionaires spend enormous time and money on tax strategies, using every legal method to minimize tax liability. They view taxes as their single largest expense to be systematically reduced. They structure businesses and investments specifically for tax advantages. They hire expensive tax strategists. They relocate to tax-favorable jurisdictions. They use every legal loophole available. This isn't discussed publicly because it sounds greedy, but it's how they keep more wealth they generate. Sarah, a millionaire entrepreneur, told me, "I spend 20% of my strategic thinking time on tax optimization. That's created millions in retained wealth. But I'd never say that publicly because people would think I'm selfish. They don't understand that legal tax reduction is smart business." Habit 8. The comfortable discomfort. The eighth hidden habit is being comfortable causing discomfort in others when necessary for wealth building. Millionaires fire people, end partnerships, negotiate aggressively, and make decisions that disappoint people without excessive guilt. They understand that building significant wealth sometimes requires making others uncomfortable. They're willing to be the bad guy in negotiations, to fire underperformers, to end partnerships that aren't working. They don't let the desire to be liked prevent wealth-building decisions. This emotional resilience to others' disappointment is essential but rarely discussed because it sounds harsh. But millionaires know you can't build significant wealth while trying to make everyone happy and comfortable. Habit 9. The controlled generosity. The ninth hidden habit is practicing controlled generosity, being strategic and measured about giving rather than spontaneously generous. While publicly they might appear generous, privately every charitable decision is calculated for maximum impact or strategic benefit. They give to causes that align with their values, but also their network, reputation, or tax benefits. They're not spontaneously generous, they're strategically philanthropic. Every dollar given is considered for what it accomplishes beyond just helping. This doesn't mean they don't care. It means they're strategic about generosity the same way they're strategic about everything else. But this calculated approach to giving wouldn't sound good publicly, so it remains hidden. The transformation these 9 hidden habits create is undeniable. Before implementing them, most people build wealth slowly or not at all because they're following inspiring but ineffective advice. They prioritize others' needs over wealth building. They take balanced risks. They maintain draining relationships. They use public information. They present themselves uniformly. They're passive about collections. They pay more taxes than necessary. They prioritize being liked. And they're spontaneously rather than strategically generous. After adopting these hidden habits, wealth accumulation accelerates dramatically. You focus ruthlessly on your own wealth building. You seek asymmetric opportunities exclusively. You leverage relationships strategically. You invest in information advantages. You present yourself optimally in each context. You aggressively collect what's owed. You minimize taxes legally. You make wealth-building decisions despite others' discomfort. You give strategically rather than spontaneously. Here's the uncomfortable reality. These habits work because they're based on how wealth actually accumulates, not how we wish it worked. Millionaires know that significant wealth requires pragmatism that public discussion doesn't allow. But here's the critical disclaimer. These habits are revealed for understanding, not necessarily for blind adoption. You must decide which align with your values. Millionaires have chosen wealth optimization over other considerations. You must make your own choices. The reason these habits remain hidden isn't because they don't work. It's because admitting them publicly would damage reputation or reduce competitive advantage. Success requires doing things you can't discuss openly. Your choice now is whether to continue with inspiring but ineffective advice or to adopt the hidden practices that actually create wealth. Understanding these habits gives you knowledge most people never access. Start with calculated selfishness and asymmetric risk obsession. Focus ruthlessly on your wealth building and seek opportunities with limited downside and massive upside. Write in the comments if this made you uncomfortable or empowered. Be honest about which habit challenged you most. If this revealed hidden truths about wealth creation, subscribe and share carefully. These 9 habits aren't for everyone. They're for people willing to do what millionaires actually do, not what they say they do. The gap between those two realities is where wealth is actually built. Your choice is which side of that gap you operate from.